seamlessly. If there were, and it also includes agenda topics too, based off of the correspondence that you included as well. All right, so jumping into Word as well, I want to show you what that experience is like with our, let me stop sharing for a second, I reshare. All right. So I have an Excel document that I received, and I need to change this from a big data document to an executive summary. So what I can do now in Word, and again, I ran this ahead of time, I asked it based off of this Excel document of this summary across my organization, I asked it to generate a Q2 2026 status update. I'm going to show you here in the chat what that was like. All right, so I asked it to create a Q2 20, before this was a blank document. I'm just showing you for the sake of time so that way we can try to get to the rest of the demos and some of the workshop for you guys. I asked it to create a Q2 2026 update based on that same Excel that I was showing you before that had the financial models in there. It went ahead and generated this entire document. This was a blank document before, nothing was in there. Again, I can show you guys more of this afterwards, of what agent mode entails. If I wanted to, say, create some information and research around AI impacts across the global economy, I'm going to do that from a blank workbook, and I'm also going to show you what that experience is like in agent mode here. All right, so as you can see, this was a blank workbook. You can see that it's now thinking behind the scenes. It's going to do some information here. This is a deep reasoning tool, and this is using Anthropic models as well as OpenAI model. And actually, so I actually made a good mistake here. So I did not select agent mode. I was just in standard Copilot chat within Excel. And what that does, it just provides an overview of what the AI impacts are across the global economy, which is perfect. This is actually a good mistake that I made. I'm going to now enact agent mode, which will allow me to now create a spreadsheet on what the research that I just asked it to do. By selecting tools at the bottom in the prompt box here and going into agent mode, I'm going to put in that same prompt. And you're going to see now, instead of it just providing me a response in the chat box, it's going to update the actual spreadsheet itself with information. I'll let that work behind the scenes. And
what agent are you using?
So this, Microsoft is not the best at naming tools. We did a really good job naming Copilot, because obviously Copilot, not Autopilot, right? We want you to continue to be in the loop with the AI that you're using. It is technically not an agent, it's a tool. And it's a tool that is integrated into Excel and our AI ecosystem.
So it's already embedded, you just have to click it.
You just have to select it, and it goes and it does its thing. I did this already before, so I'm going to show you what it generated. Window keeps popping down on me. This is what it generated for me when I prompted that. So that was a blank document, and it generated an overview of AI impact across the global economy for 2024-2025 report. It gave me global investments and things like that that I need to be considering across the different locations. And it was a very generic prompt, as you can see. Like, I didn't give it more details. I didn't follow my GCSE. I'm just showing you the power of what agent mode can actually yield for you, just based off of simple prompts. And it pulls in both information from your ecosystem, the data and the files that you have access to, and it also pulls in web data too. If you want to turn that off, you have the ability to do so. If you don't want it to reference web data and you only want it to anchor in your internal documents, you can do so. All right. Jacoby, I think I'm going to pivot to you because I want you to get to the Gemini stuff, and we're kind of, I want us to also get to the worksheets too, if we can get to that.
Okay.
Can we?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Of course, yeah.
All right,
I think it's just a good time to just have a little breathing room and just to kind of reconcile, what did we just hear, what did we just see, what did we just learn? Sorry, I can't help it, it's the teacher in me.
Okay, no, great.
Former
Let's
teacher
do.
in me. I was a teacher and a professor for 20 years. So I think one of the things that I would imagine everyone wants to just have clarity on is like, how is using Copilot different, or in some cases better than just ChatGPT? And I think what Nicole tried to demonstrate to us is that within the Microsoft ecosystem, because Copilot is a product of Microsoft, Copilot talks to everything seamlessly. So once you have a license to use Microsoft, right, and you're in Copilot, it has access to your emails, it has access to your calendar, it can write in one environment, it can read and be connected to your other Microsoft tools like Word, like Excel. So that spreadsheet that we just saw, that didn't exist. She put a prompt in Excel, I'm sorry, right.
Yeah, in Excel,
She put a prompt in Excel, and Excel, like from the prompt, it just created that entire table with all of that data and all of that information. In case anyone missed that, because she was trying to like pre-load some things so you could see the output. So I wanted to make sure that you weren't confused. The prompt created that information inside Excel itself. And that's the sweet spot, right? ChatGPT, basically so many of us know it because it was first to market, right? That's why, it's kind of like, you know, Q-Tip and Q-Tex, right? It was just the first to market, but Copilot has its advantages because it is connected to that entire ecosystem. So if you work for a company or you just happen to be a licensed user of Microsoft products, this is a perfect place for you to play in, right? And spend more time in because they talk to each other. It's super, super seamless. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And conversely, when we move over to Gemini, it's the same thing. Who made Gemini? Google. So that means Gemini can do what? Tap into sheets, pages, everything that Google has created. And we're going to learn more about that from the professor and all the crazy things that we can do. So I just wanted to draw that distinction. It's the ecosystem that this AI tool is embedded in and the power of it if you are a user in that space already. Does that make sense? Perfect.
And before I pivot to Jacoby, sorry, Jacoby, one last one. So that same question that I asked around what are the AI impacts across the global economy, I did that in Excel, in that agent mode that Nicole just mentioned again. I also put it in our agent that I mentioned to you before that I have called Researcher. This is a good place to start if you guys have access to this, when you get to the hack packs and you're like, I don't really know what to solve here, what is it that I'm looking to do. Go into Researcher Agent and you will be really impressed by what it can produce for you. It provides you a whole, like, look at this report. Whole layout around adoption across different locations, job risk, 1.3 million job risk. It shows you efficiency, productivity gains. It gives you a table that lays it out in a chart for you. It also shows you where it's pulling that information from, whether that's internal documents, as I mentioned to you before, or external. But this is a robust report if you're looking to do any market analysis, information, research in terms of how you can solution your next prompts and things along those lines within AI. So with that, Jacoby, I'm gonna pass it over to you for Gemini.
Okay.
Yeah?
I see a question back there. Go for it.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
I think I can continue presenting.
So, in your Outlook example, for those of us who are providing direction to our managers and to our team leaders or whomever, and I'm gonna assume they're gonna be using like Copilot, lacking information about what's most important. Should we, as an email writer, write certain ways in order for the Copilot to gather the information for that manager or my team worker?
So it's interesting.
Yeah, just mute your audio.
Yeah, that was when I was trying to use my voice command earlier.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Now it wants to work. So okay, back to your question. I think what you were asking is if you or how you're using Copilot and your manager is going to be able to pick up how you're using it. Is that what like the memory and like
I'm
the
the
interaction?
manager of 10 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna assume my my direct reports are
Yes.
using Copilot
Yes.
to use the output that you just used
Yes.
in Outlook,
Yes.
are there certain ways that a lead should be now writing emails within Outlook so that the Copilot is gathering them, right? Like if I'm getting 30 emails, some of it will all say important, important, important. How does the Copilot know?
Ah, great.
You know, like
Great question.
Should I
Yeah.
write in a way that
Mhm.
if I'm writing to Nicole, hey Nicole, do I tag her? Like, are there certain tips and tools that
So-
we should use?
So another positive about being in the ecosystem environment, right? So we talked about. That's not me this time. Where is it?
You have your audio on?
No, I turned it off.
Because maybe Jacoby does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why it's echoing.
It actually knows who you work with. So your org information and all that stuff is in the, again, back to that same ecosystem as well. It knows who your direct manager is, who your direct reports are. So it will assume when you're asking about things that are, it makes assumptions, but it makes like inferred assumptions that just pretty much like, okay, this person works with this individual, they message each other very often. These are probably, you know, people that needs to be prioritized. There's also a way to prioritize your inbox, and usually this is something that I would do like a 4-hour workshop with some of my customers. So trying to cut this down into it, you know, it was a lot to try to cut down, but there's ways that you can prioritize your inbox as well, that will allow you to see, and the Copilot and the AI to know that, okay, these are the things that are important to you too.
Okay.
Would this be true, Nicole? I would also imagine, I would experiment and say like, hey, this is like a list of the organization chart. Like these are people who report to me. If you see emails from these people, they're high priority always. Like maybe you can just prompt Copilot to like say like these are people to like
Yep,
prioritize.
That's the customizations that I was just mentioning, like the prioritize my inbox. I'll show you after the session how you can go about doing that. All right, Jacoby, once you share your screen, it will come up on here.
You want to stay right there? Not
No, I can move.
So you know what's interesting, guys? So I came early to just try to get set up tech-wise because this room is very hyper-wired for tech. But this space, they do not provide a day tech to you. They just like, they have a manual and there's like, you have to figure it out to use the space. And guess how I figured out how to make any of this happen? I'm like, ChatGPT, this is what I see on the screen. What do I do? And it was just telling me, okay, do this, check that. That's literally how we got set up for today. So go AI.
Yes.
See if it help us get started today.
All right. So while I'm getting started,
You have to share. You have to share.
Yeah, just
yeah,
share
I just
one.
have to share video.
Okay, great.
While I'm getting set up to share,
Do you want to just take off? Do you want to?
I'm gonna show
You're
you.
good? Okay.
Just show of hands. How many of you have built an app or have something in your business that's software related? How many of you have built an app, or you have aspirations of building an app? You have. Yeah. Oh no, I just gotta find it right now. So the reason I asked that question is because many of us over the last, I would say 20 years or so, if you've been working for someone or you're just getting started with your own ideas, you wanted to build something. One of the things that Nicole did in her presentation, I think that we could actually think beyond, because it is a great basis. She entered in her transcripts for the presentation. So, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Keep talking.
So she entered in her transcript for the presentation. So how many of you actually record your meetings or record yourself? And I'm going to tell you the end part of what I'm getting at here. The end part is 1 hour before this started, and I gave myself this challenge. 1 hour before we started today, I actually released a set of code online for an app. So if you go to createwithdub.ai, I already had the back end built. I had used it for hackathons. I've used it with my students at Howard University. I used it for a school system here in New York on Long Island called the Academy Charter School. So I've had, over the last year, maybe 25,000 people over time utilizing Dub and Dub AI. But my initial front-end interface wasn't the greatest. I rebuilt that and I gave myself this personal challenge. I wanted to see if I could use these tools to do this. I built that front-end interface, changed my DNS servers, pulled Cloudflare together to actually push out my app to the world, loaded it on Heroku to utilize the middleware that I have, and set up a new waiting list for people to actually interact with me while the people that do use the app on a daily basis, it doesn't interrupt them. I built all of that with talking to Claude and Google Gemini. And the reason why this is so powerful and what I'm talking about is because of the ecosystems that we've been alluding to. Going back to the example for Nicole with the files, all of you at this point have access to applications that can at minimum record your meetings. And if you don't utilize things like Firefly's AI, you can simply open a voice note on your phone and just click record. Now, from that, you can even transcribe in an iPhone. I don't know too much about Android anymore, but in an iPhone you can export your transcript from that, or you can actually bring your transcript into that audio file into Google Gemini. You can bring that audio. I'm sorry. Okay, you can do that on Android. We verified it. You can bring those files actually into Google Gemini and/or Claude, and then from there you can base everything that you're doing off of that. I want to share my screen. I know I have the meeting open, but I can't find it on my computer right now.
I got you.
Zoom.
And we're gonna get the audio.
I got it. You're in it, right?
I am in it.
More?
Oh, you know what? Can you email me the link really quick, and I'll be able to share.
Okay.
Let me do that.
Yeah, just send it to my email after that, and I'll be able to.
You just share it? Okay.
So,
Which email?
So what I'm getting here with the files, that's just an example of an audio file. Now at this point, both Claude and Gemini can recognize multiple files. So we only really talk about the outputs of these platforms. So how many of you have heard I'm sure you've heard the term multi-model. You use apps like Claude, like Gemini, like if you're into video, there's applications like OpenArt, Artlist, and so on. They're multi-model. But the base models like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, they're multimodal, meaning they can understand more than just a video. They can understand more than just an image. They can understand more than just audio. So what I'm getting at here is when I ask for a show of hands of who's built something like an app or who's done something internally for their business over the last 10 years, there's a lot of ideas for us. And let me preface it with this. I'm not saying go out and build everything that you've thought of. But there's a lot of your data. There's a lot of the things on your computer lying around your house or even just still in your head that have just gone to die. Why have they gone to die? Because you don't know what to do with that information. And not knowing what to do with that information gives you a way to then utilize these AIs. Now, if you go to Google Workspace will show you all of the apps that you have access to through Google Gemini when you enable it. So I want to clarify on the when you enable it part. So you will need to, when you set up your Google Workspace, I'll show it to you from the Google Business side. You have access to all of these applications, but sorry about that. But you must tell, on the Workspace side, you must tell it you want to use Google Drive, you want to use Google Calendar, and so on, your Google Inbox across these applications. You want to allow Gemini to use that, and I'll show you that. Turn my background off. Share my screen here. So for everyday users, you can, grow your business with your workspace. Gives you the cost breakdown. But these are all of the apps that are included in your workspace. So you see the conventional ones: Google, Gmail, Drive, Meet, Calendar, Chat, Gemini. Then you have access to all of these others: documents, sheets, slides, and so on. Notebook LM is a beast when it comes to research. There's so many things that you can do, from pulling together your subject matter for your next podcast to here's some of my transcript and thoughts for my next book. And Notebook LM can really, in the background, help and even co-write the things that you need written. And it can do all of that, from things like inputting a video link. So if right now I'm live streaming this onto YouTube, if I take this link later on and put it into Notebook LM, it will not only just give me the transcript, but I can talk to it and converse with it about what could I give the audience based on everything that we've done today. Now, what is also important is to be able to show what it looks like on the back end. So I opened that tab so that you could see just what it looked like from the general user standpoint. But let me open the tab from a actual live business account, and it won't show you my business data, but I will be able to show you what I mean by you need to turn it on, because I do know what it feels like to go through this, and then you're like, man, I need to know how to set this up, and you can't set it up, and you're trying to find it and you can't. So this is what it looks like on the back end. Share just this one screen. So on the back end, or once you log in, so you have your organization. This is Gemini Workspace app. Right now I don't have it enabled to utilize my Dropbox. I don't have it enabled to utilize my Google Drive and Docs. So you're gonna go to the Generative AI tab. You're gonna go down to Gemini for Workspace. And it will tell you everything that you have and don't have activated right now. What I do want to do, because the features that are coming up in the alpha versions are really cool, I want to enable it to give me the ability to test out those alpha features. Some of you may want to wait until features are more baked in. That just depends on your business and or who you are working for. So you can click that and click save. While that's working in the background and saving, it's activated. I can go through that long list of apps that it showed on the Google Workspace page, and I can go ahead and enable. I want to enable calendar. I also want to enable drives and docs. And similar to how Nicole was talking about the Copilot system and Microsoft in general, there may be some differences in what Google analyzes, but it works in a very similar way to how Microsoft has a very cohesive system. So this sees across now my calendar, Google Drive, Google Docs, Gmail, Google Chat, and Google Meet. So I can talk to Gemini at this point in all of these apps, and it will have context, whether it's already saved into or already present in the chat that I'm using, or if it has to go access that in Drive, it'll go find those things. It will also even go as granular as finding references to images that you have taken and stored in Google Images. So these things can be super powerful in business. So the way that I use this is I use it more as a COO for my company, and this is something I want to dive in really quickly before we actually in this section. And this is an acronym that I use for business and also with teaching my students. And that acronym is AID, A-I-D. And the A stands for assigning the role. So as I said, I use Google Gemini as a COO. I do it in a way where I talk to it about all of the applications that I'm using, because I do utilize still ChatGPT, I do still utilize Claude, and I talk about what I want to do with those applications, and it goes from an overseeing standpoint, telling me how a COO would have all of these things operating for a business to be at its optimal level. So in my prompts at the beginning of a chat, and I'm actually going to show this in Claude, and for a few different reasons. I know I started with context on Google Gemini, but let's go to Claude for a second, because I'm going to end on this could be a short time. Assigning the role. So, and you can put this in your own words. After I've gotten some direction for my idea from Google Gemini, I may have created some images to go along with that using Nano Banana Pro. Probably even generated some video using Google VO3. I have some docs and all of that. Everything written out. And then I'll ask Gemini at the end, well, how should I activate Claude in this? Coolest thing about this is now with Claude, you have all of these different extensions for, or what they call connectors for Google. And going back to the acronym AID, when I come over to Claude, again, when I start this chat, I want to assign a role. The I means I want to inject my intent. Like, what am I thinking here after giving it this role and slimming down just the general knowledge that Claude has at this time? It's more so funneling the general knowledge that it has into the specific role that I'm assigning it. I want to give it my intent, or what I'm thinking I'm going to get an outcome for here. And then the D is then I'm going to direct it what to do. And the reason Claude is great at that right now, because you can go further than just a chat. You have Claude Cowork and you have Claude Code. So Claude Cowork can, with the paid max version, you can actually access the files on your computer. I've done things like utilize Claude Cowork to organize my files. now it'll talk to me about knocking out tasks for the day. So if I want to look through a folder, like my apps folder on my computer is a folder where I build apps all day, every day. My desktop, I might store things. So, if I click on desktop, I'm just going to allow for the sake of this. Act as my executive assistant. Now, what is my intent here with the desktop? I have, I like for my desktop to literally be clear. So I'll say something along the lines of, I want to clear everything off Okay, so my intent is to clean up my desktop. And then I'll give it some direction from there. Analyze. And just for safety reasons, I might say, don't delete or move. I'm doing this live because I'm comfortable with doing this prompt this way. Aid, assign the role, inject the intent, and then direct the AI from there.
Jacob, would you mind reading the prompts in case everyone can't see it?
Okay, so for everyone that can't see it, the prompt says, act as my executive assistant. I want you to clear everything off of my desktop and place it into appropriate folders. Analyze the files and tell me what I should do with them. Don't delete or move the files yet. Talk to me about them. So now it's taking a look at my desktop folder, and it's providing itself screenshots to what it looks like now, what the desktop looks like now, and then it's going to come back and give me recommendations. Now, if you know me in my personal life, and you know things that would get under my skin, and whenever I'm talking to people, I'll say, I'll ask them a question and they usually ask me a question back. I absolutely hate that. So generally when people do that to me, I say you can't answer a question with a question. However, when you're working with these AIs, Gemini and Claude in particular, you want it to answer your questions with questions. And what do I mean by that? A lot of us don't really know what we should be prompting, or we don't really know what we should be asking to get to our end result. We just know we want to do something. A lot of us have the greatest app idea, but we don't know what to do to get to that greatest app. So I generally ask in chats, after I've assigned the role, after I've directed my intent, injected my intent, and I've given it some direction, to clarify, I will say something like, in order for me to get to my optimum level for these tasks, I want you to ask me the questions that I should be asking you to reach my goal or reach my outcome. And as it gives you a response, it's giving you questions that you may or may not have thought of, especially from the standpoint of a business. You have, how many of you have your own business started?
Yeah.
And how many of you have employees working for you? Okay, so a lot of us think like our AI is just a savior and we are going to eliminate all of these roles, but what it can do is augment roles. So what are your top 3 roles at your company, or the top 3 roles that you need? Let's talk about just random thought. Anybody can blurt this out. What's your top role that you need at your company right now that you don't have? Anyone?
Content management.
What's graphic design?
I heard 2 people with content. I heard,
Graphic design.
all right, graphic design. Somebody give me another one.
Yeah.
Legal's a little harder, but you can get some suggestions on where to go with legal. What's another one?
Strategic operations.
Strategic operations. Okay, so you can break, these prompts down like this, and try this. If we have time, I don't know if we have time after this, or I'll be staying until the end, and I can work through this with a few of you. So here, these are my top 3 roles that I need filled right now. I don't have humans to do these roles, so I want you to act as these 3 roles, and I want you to put this in the prompt. Again, we can try this if we have time at the end. We can, do it later.
Got a prompt with major prompter, just put out a whole set, exactly like you're saying, of template prompts you can use and edit for Gemini, and he's right on point. I run an angel investor fund, help with the developer groups. Would you start with the role in the context, and you go down to what you wanted to do, and then you put in your deliverable, and literally he just quoted out one exactly what you're saying doing. So it's a good source on Twitter if you want for stuff to start with and can customize, like 10 different ones he uses for a company. My biggest thing is I'm using Google Gemini to look at my emails, my calendar, and my docs, and tell me things I should be missing, either events I get invited to, or I meet founders, or things I actually need to be aware of, information. Because my little hack is, I make every social network I am send me email messages. So I'm basically data mining, machine learning, all my other outer networks in my Gmail.
That sounds really cool. Now, let's simplify it a little bit. I said your top 3, right? We're still going to use the top 3. Let's not put them all in one. Chat. Let's make a chat for each one. Assign a role. You want to inject your intent. You want to also direct it. Now, if you're using Claude, which I use a lot, but I use it in conjunction with Gemini, but this is my power move right here. So what I've done is I have all of the connectors for Claude connecting to Google. I have it also connecting to various other apps, but in the middle I have Notion. And Notion is my personal source of truth. So if I were to get rid of any of these other platforms, I at least have my central brain stored in Notion. Claude, unlike most of the other tools, can't actually update Notion for you. So a lot of times when I'm driving, I might talk to Claude and tell it to update Notion based on our conversations. But what I want you to do with these 3 different roles, as you're talking to Gemini, as you're talking to Claude, actually start it in Gemini and then bring it over to Claude, and then have Claude break down the conversation and build not only your job description, so when you do actually put that job description out to the world, or you're ready to hire somebody, you have one already prepared, but you want to start assigning tasks to that role based on what the AI is telling you this role should be doing for your business. And then continue to tell it to, if you use Notion, update your Notion and store all of this information about this role. You're building your company at that point while building your product, because you're getting tasks done by the AI, but at the same time you are storing data about that role, or specific roles. Why is that important? Well, when you're interviewing somebody, you have something to interview against. You can't interview a CTO and you don't know anything about development, or you don't know anything about how they're going to utilize AI for development. But if you at least have notes that are stored somewhere, whether it's in Google Drive or Notion or wherever your power plate is for your complete source of data, your one centralized source of truth, think about it as like you're building your own LLM around your knowledge base. And this doesn't mean that you're building an LLM. It just means that you're storing your data for all of these platforms to use at any point in time.
In fact, that's what AT&T just did. There's an article in VentureBeat where they call it the SLM, because they were going to run 8 billion tokens a day, and they realized they needed less information to focus on what they wanted to do. So you're right on point with that. It's called SLM.
So these ecosystems help you not be so fragmented, but there's still ways that we are fragmenting ourselves because we have subscription fatigue, because we feel like every time there's a hot article that comes out, we need to do this next thing. We have fear of missing out, and we will definitely download and use the hottest thing on Monday, and if there's something else that comes out on Tuesday, I'm getting that also. But there's so many ways to start, whether it's Gemini, Copilot, or Claude. You want to bring all of this together by assigning your roles. You understand that role, but you didn't inject your intent into that role. Then you directed what to do. And at all times, store your data from these chats so that you store it in a way that you can retrieve it, you understand it, and then you can actually continue to implement it, whether it's with human or AI going forward. I think we're at 2 minutes over time. Do we have any questions? And I know I didn't demo a lot, but we definitely can demo more afterwards, because I know there's other speakers.
So, if we write a bad prompt and something happens, how do we reverse it? Like, say it clears up something which we didn't intend to erase.
So there's really no such thing as a bad prompt now. That there can be when agents are activated and you don't give it like guardrails or things to do, there can be bad consequences. So one of the things that happened when I ran the prompt in Claude Cowork was it looked at all my files, and I'm looking at it right now. It says like my recommendation for your folder structure is take all 6 music files that you have there, put them in one folder, make a design folder, and create some shortcuts to it. You have some personal images, and then you have screenshots that should be organized, and then you list all those folders. Now, what could have been a bad result to it is if I didn't say don't delete these files or don't move these files, it could have just moved those wherever it wanted to, or it could have just thrown them in the trash can and deleted it. So that is an example of what could be a bad result, but a way to actually prevent that. Some people would classify the don't do this as negative prompting, because you don't want those things to happen. But at all times, keeping that one memory source also allows you to eliminate losing some of the data that you would lose. So that's why I use applications like Notion on top. But Claude now has artifacts, and that was one of the reasons why I started using Notion. I would just copy and paste the things that I liked from Claude and ChatGPT, because at one point they didn't, ChatGPT's memory was limited, which it still is. And then Claude, it didn't have artifacts before. So, but even though both of them have some type of memory now, I still have my one source of truth where no matter which way the chat goes, or no matter which way what I've told it to do goes, I still have a central source of truth for myself.
Just a quick follow-up to what you just said. You talked about guardrails. With the agentic AI, is it true that they launched these without adequate guardrails? Is that true?
I can't speak to whether that's true or not. I can tell you there are guardrails in these applications, but that doesn't mean that the guardrails are specific to you. Like there's going to be specific use cases for each business and each personal use case. So putting up guardrails into each chat, that helps you. Even with Claude Code, before you submit your commands, it asks you, do you want to allow access, or do you want us to ask and get permission before you do, or do you want this just to be planning mode? And the same thing with Gemini. Gemini has a similar, Google Gemini has a similar application to Claude Code that's standalone. It's called Anti-Gravity. And it does the same thing where I might code with it. I use Anti-Gravity to review a lot of the code that I do with Claude Code. And what it does is allow me to plan more than actual write code. And it actually makes the writing code a lot faster. Because I'm someone that, I come from a background where I could develop my own apps. Reviewing the code now is simple for me. I don't have to, and I'm not just going to just press enter every time it writes something. But for those of us that don't know how to, code or don't have that experience with understanding it, it does help when you can step through, plan it, and give it permissions when you want to give it permissions to push into your code base. You're welcome.
Good question. I'm assuming that when everyone's using AI, they're not thinking about privacy as much. So for someone who's more privacy minded, if you have an idea for an app and you don't want the application to actually take your ideas and probably use it for research or put it out there onto the wider spectrum, how do you prevent certain information that shouldn't be leaked from getting leaked out?
I can speak to Microsoft Copilot. We do not train our models on what you do, and it's in your ecosystem. When it's in your tenant, what you're building, what you're designing, that's within your tenant, within your environment. The models aren't being trained on the back end to now develop something that you created on within our ecosystem.
Got it.
I don't know if you want to speak to any of the other ones.
ChatGPT, like talking to Notion, those are kind of like public in a way.
Well, they're public apps where anyone can use the app, but I think this is a cultural difference question. So to be really direct, like a lot of that stuff we don't have to worry about anymore. But I think culturally we have to find a way to move past that in tech, because let's be all honest, like AI is writing a large majority of code now. So even when it comes down to IP and who can sue somebody, when it comes down to tech ideas, it's fastly going to non-existent, exponentially actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, no one can steal your idea unless you like put out a public link to your chat that everyone can access if they have the link. You can definitely, now there's hackers that can get into anything really, and that you're not gonna be able to stop them. But as far as like stealing ideas or you having to be afraid about using the apps across the board, yeah, that's going to not.
I'm gonna tag in Zorel. Sorry, one
Go right
second.
and add to that, especially you say like ChatGPT, Notion, it seems like it's public. There's a private connection between your ChatGPT and your Notion. So that is only information that's traveling across that. No different. How many of you all have used some type of application where it's like TurboTax or some of these things where it connects to your bank account, right? Or when you log in via Google or log in via LinkedIn, you have given specific permission for this one app for certain things. It's the same technology, just used differently.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Just to follow up on that issue, you, especially for individual licensing, the agreements are very, very different than the business licensing.
Yes.
So for Microsoft, I would 100% Microsoft, Google, if you have a business license, as a business owner with the domain, everything that's in my Google account will
Yep.
stay there.
Yep.
But if you're signing up as gmail.com, you already signed up to allow them access to all of your data. This
That's
was
a good
signing
call out.
up as ChatGPT. I don't know about Microsoft Outlook.com, but I can speak to ChatGPT and Google Gmail for sure. That information is already out there. So if you email anyone that idea, it's in the universe.
I do want to. Sorry, I did want to mention the hack. I know we didn't get to hacking, and this does take some time, but it is available to you. You have it. It was emailed to you. Based on all of the platforms that we talked about, we kind of demoed a little bit of like the productivity, low hanging fruit, things that you can do in your day to day to kind of cut down your time, right? Your time is value. Your time is money. Your time that you're spending doing administrative things when you can actually be creating opportunities for your business and, you know, moving your business forward, or using the AI to move your business forward as well, right? I want you to be able to capture all of the things that you mentioned, the 3 roles that you didn't have, that Jacoby mentioned. Think about also like pain points that you have, like what if you had this thing to do that would save you time in your day. Jot these all down in the task here. Just want to give you an idea of how to use the template because I know we didn't talk about it. Then you capture whichever one that you're going to focus in on, and then you want to capture what you want to do with that, whatever task that you are aligning to, how you're going to use it. So mention the different ecosystems that you have access to, whether that be Copilot, Claude, Gemini, Notion, some of the other things that that Jacoby mentioned. And then how do you know when you're successful? Is it time? Is it added value to your organization? Is it adding, you know, net new revenue? Like you want to necessarily capture, how do I know I'm successful? You don't want to just use AI for the sake of using AI. You want to make sure that it's adding something to value to your day. And then you can do the time savings if you want to do that calculator at the end, at the bottom. It's not required. And then enter the scenarios and try the prompts. When the prompts work, capture them. I want you to be able to have something that you're taking away with you that you can either use for your own business, that you can share with your teams, that is scalable. It's throughout the organization. I included some of the other Microsoft applications on here. You can, if you don't necessarily want to go in-app standpoint and you just want to focus on the overarching platform itself, so just like Claude, Gemini, Copilot, whenever you're using those things, just drag and drop these into the add app that you are utilizing across here. But do recommend you looking across the ecosystem to see the different things that you have. Jacoby mentioned Gemini notebook, LLM. There's also a notebook in Copilot too, within the Copilot ecosystem. So a lot of these tools are very similar in terms of some of the capabilities that are available to you there. All right, and then again, problem statement, solution, personas is just like the different roles and responsibilities that will align to this problem statement. Build out agents as well. Don't be afraid of those. Some of the apps that Jacoby was mentioning and ways that you can do that. And then this is just a complete example, so that way if you are lost in your own deep dive of what you're gathering for your organization, you can leverage this from a change management standpoint. It's a very simple example. All right, that was all that I wanted to showcase here. And then we have some references that I'll share with Nicole that can be distributed afterwards. Thank you.
Right in, because we gotta get set up. If you
Well,
need to
I
use the
mean,
bathroom,
yeah,
get
give 'em
a
a couple
drink, you
minutes,
can
huh?
do so, but yeah, we're gonna just get to roast it up.
Just scratch the surface, and I really wanted to share your screen.
Later session.
So first, we have to go here, then log into
First, we're gonna take that earlier.
Yeah, so that's if we have.
But y'all, no.
Okay, yeah, so
I just mess with it. I just mess with
I could mess with me, but I didn't even.
Yes, I agree. I agree. You want to
I'm sure you did. I didn't.
They used to be whoever first invented, now they change laws for fun.
exactly.
Like,
And to be fair, the policies and laws are also catching up to, it's not there yet.
I was at the thing with the legal master started. Catch up with.
Okay.
So like from here, because you have like all the different thingamabobbys on your screen. So how would I get?
So I went to the admin panel. Yeah, so like in your Gmail, you have an admin panel.
hold on, before you go, which one do I plug in?
I'm not sure, I think so,
Is
otherwise.
your email at gmail.com? So it's when you have a business email.
No, it's at my
Your business.
yeah.
Yeah, so then, yeah, go to your inbox and see if you can then click that, yep, and if, wherever your, so yeah, your admin panel is down there, fourth row.
That was a super high quality presentation. It's better than the one I listened to last night. You guys are
Recording in progress.
yeah. I'd love to follow that. Oh, you were at Howard?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. I was born in DC actually. My godfather used to be a professor there. And my mom was at Howard.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I worked with Langston University.
Okay, yeah, we definitely gotta follow
Yeah,
up.
we definitely did.
Oh, he is, but he's my wonderful friend, Mr. Another Mr. Howard alum, executive at All Stars Project, nonprofit organization, soon to be VP of the organization. No, okay,
I'm already a CMS.
Yes. But you know what I was trying to say.
I know what you meant.
Okay.
I'm waiting for them to
I'm just trying to say, so Mark Dazzle, obviously.
Yes, that's what the whole connection.
Yes, so I know we went to the city. And me too. So, did you mention her?
How was your people? You said you was on people actually. I want to get a picture of how they just when they started.
Yeah, I'm trying to get access to where I was
And you've done a lot of work on development, so how do you take, AI, what people are thinking is very much not that's happening, but how do we kind of combine some of those? We're not moving to the development side of things, but we're also using AI as a
Have you signed up? No. You signed it? You have signed it or open? Yes, pressure now. Right? Because the cloud in theory can take out all these intermediate layers. Huh? You need some source of original high quality stuff. Otherwise,
I am in New York. I actually live in Newark. Okay. So I live in Newark and I'm like most of the time. Yeah. But I'm like her.
Doctors are here. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go there, travel there, 6 7 months, right? Good experience. Yes, that's the term. Then we'll turn it. So that's the term I was thinking. Yes.
can't necessarily see it. I can see it, but
Right.
Yeah, I can see it on my computer, so it's one of the things I want to see.
Frankly, for regular for regular owners, right? Those guys the doctor does like 10 a year.
no, I'm trying to. I'm with that. I need to share it. Hold on. I can't see it. Okay, it is up there.
Oh, there's a thing there.
Yeah.
There we go, yeah.
No, I can.
I'll text you.
Okay. And I can get your contact info. Yeah.
Oh, you wanted yours, exactly. I can't see it for it. When I travel to Asia, I get to anything in there. I'm not looking. I just walk past them. Oh, yeah. In my minutes, we put it together.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go prompt, or you can prompt ChatGPT, Gemini, and Microsoft. I think he's just gonna prompt about Gemini.
Yes, exactly. So I can put it in the LinkedIn.
Okay, so they can't see my little cheek back.
All right, guys, we're gonna get ready to get started. I know this session is going to be especially intriguing because it's something that may feel really intimidating. And we're going to be talking about building custom apps with no coding required. I know absolutely nothing about this, so I'm going to be just as leaned forward as you. So I'm going to turn things over to our esteemed. I was planning to do the proper full bio intro, but the panel later, but you're not going to be here as well.
Okay, I'll give them just a little background.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Killed him dead with the.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
All right.
Everyone, Darrell Booker.
All right. Okay, thank y'all. All right, so I'm excited for this, and I actually think the order was really well because you all learned a lot about prompting, you learned a lot about tools and things of that such. I'm gonna take you in a slightly different direction, but you're gonna leverage everything that you learned. And as Nicole said, we're gonna talk about building custom apps. And I think it's very, very important that, at least for you all, you understand, you good?
Unmute, so that people on Zoom can hear you. You're just muted right now.
Test in Zoom, can people hear in Zoom?
Yeah.
They can hear?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did I pick this topic? Why do I feel like I'm educated to tell you about this topic? So as she told you, even though I don't look like it, I've been in tech 30 plus years. So when I say tech, working full time, so if you do the math, full-time at the age of 18, but actually 4 years prior to that is when I started coding. At 14, I was messing with my dad's computer, and I was scared to death that I was messing with it. And that actually put me in a position to actually learn things relatively quickly. Well, one day he figured out what I was doing and tinkering, and he said, hey, we're doing this thing at work on paper. Do you think you can help us? And essentially, he worked for Dominion Energy, so power company for Virginia and a few other states. And his job was part of, large shopping centers, large buildings being built, and his team will go in and they would bring all the power to the building. Long story short, they were doing a lot of tracking of their work on paper. And he saw me doing something with some little fictitious app, and he said, can you build an app that we can use at work? And I said, okay. I really knew nothing of data, databases, all these things, and I essentially built something that they could use for tracking. I think at that time there were not CDs, so I copied it to a floppy drive, and he took it to work, and his boss loved it. They used it throughout the department to track everything, and then that's when I knew, okay, I can do this. But I tell that story because it took me down a certain track of what I call like building for enterprise. And when we think of, there's a lot of developers out here, there's a lot of people building, there's a lot of people coding, but you have a lot of stuff that's being built for, small things, or they're not built to last and to really grow into. My mantra is build for the future, not the now, which means, you never know what the future is like. If you're a business owner and you say, hey, I only got a staff of 1 or 2 and we're only doing this, how do you still prepare for when you grow later? You don't want to have to go back and do a lot of tech stuff. That should be foundation. You follow me? No different. You build a house, you build a real foundation, you can change the inside, the outside, the curtains and all that as much as you want, but you have a strong foundation, right? So that's what I want us to think about. And what was that hand of business owners? Raise your hand. And okay, there's a lot of y'all. And then aspiring or about to be founders or whatever. Okay. This is really for you. So I want to kind of focus on what the landscape is right now. And the landscape has really gotten to everything being subscription as a service. How many of y'all are, as a business, are paying for a bunch of subscriptions to marketing, email, video, invoicing, this, all of that. Right. And how many of y'all can say all these things that you're paying all these, this money for, how many can y'all say 2 things? One, they all do exactly what I wanted to do, and they all talk to each other. Raise your hand. Nobody. That's the problem. And that is what, actually, I've been talking about it for a while. Actually, you all are the first one for me to actually do this at the workshop. I've been speaking about this so much. When we think of, AI, and you heard a lot of that today from Nicole and Jacoby. You heard a lot about how you can use it, in your particular careers. We all know how you can use it personally. You know what I mean? Whether it's images and things of that such. I want to empower people to use it for your own generational wealth. Like, it's great that you can use AI and be great at your job, but you're making someone else money. How can you leverage it for your own? And for some of you all, this may be an eye-opener. Wow, I can start XYZ business that I didn't even know I could, because now I may not need not only a staff of 10, 15, you might not need a developer, is what I'm going to show you here, okay? You've been hearing about all the different tools from Claude to Gemini and a bunch of stuff. I'm going to focus on these tools. I'm just going to talk about them briefly, but I'm speaking about them from a different angle. I use every one of them that they mentioned. Copilot, Claude, Gemini, Notebook, ChatGPT. ChatGPT getting real bad lately. But for me, and you heard, and I don't know if you gathered it from them, you use them for different purposes, right? There is something very specific when I think about building apps in this particular situation. When I talk about building something that is an enterprise app that has really strong backing and can really do what you want it to do. When you're thinking about apps that you're building for your internal business, does it have to be the prettiest thing ever? It just needs to work, right? So when we look at some of them that are out there, and some of these we talked about Claude, Lovable, some of y'all may have used it, Replit, Bolt. So these are some that can be used to build apps, web apps, phone apps, etc. And I put this chart together. First of all, you all will get this deck to kind of compare some of them. And the one at the end, that's the tool we're going to use today. It's called GitHub Spark. Many of you may not have heard of this, but the thing that I want to point out around it and why it scores really, really high is because it is the tool for this type of activity. It is in my opinion, right now, the best tool that you can use to do prompting, to be able to build your own app, but also be ready for the enterprise and deployment. It can deploy it, it can store it. All of this stuff is built in and no extra cost. Real quick, just so you know, you all understand, because y'all, who's heard of GitHub?
Yes.
Okay, I feel y'all more than okay. All right, for those that don't know, 90% of Fortune 100 companies use it. Probably every one of these buildings you see, there's people who use it. 180 million developers across the world use GitHub. It may be something you need to know, right? So just to kind of show you, it is GitHub as a whole. Spark is a new product, but GitHub as a whole has been around for a while. You connect the dots. Microsoft purchased it 7-8 years ago. So a lot of the infrastructure comes from some of those things. So when you look at all of these other ones, they're new. They're relatively new. GitHub has something within this stack that's ready to go. So, all right. So here's what we're going to do today. Oh, this won't be a follow along, do on your computer. This is, I want y'all to really kind of watch. It'll be a group exercise. I'll ask for some input because I really want y'all to, your brain should be twirling. You should be starting to say, oh my God, I can do that. That's what I want y'all to walk away with. You'll get this deck, you'll get what we built, you'll get all that later. I want y'all to ask questions, all the things. So what we're building, so we're all part of this new fictitious creative agency called Wavelength. It's a 40-person company, and we're gonna build a few things today. Social media scheduler, an email campaign manager, a staff culture tracker, and this campaign ROI dashboard. And based upon the slide I showed you earlier, these are some average costs that if you needed these individual features, what you would be spending with individual SaaS applications. I want to get it to the point to where you're spending nothing except, let me back up. Yes, who said it? The $39 a month for GitHub. And yes, it's more than the other ones, maybe not that one, but $39 a month to save you all the rest of it, and then you can use it to build other things. You can use it to, like we said, when you start to see what's being built, you're gonna probably say to yourself, man, I paid somebody $5,000 to do that. Or I paid somebody this. Or I was about to sign a contract for somebody to build that. $39 in a few prompts. Best $39 you can spend. All right. I want to talk about the iteration mindset. And I stepped out a little bit. I believe you heard a little bit of this from Nicole and Jacoby, but I think they also told you around, like, you know, basically the better your prompt, the better your results are, correct? Now, that is absolutely correct when dealing with some of the things that were shown, like quarterly reports, strategics, this, whatever. Yes, the more detail you can give it, the better. But when you're building an application, unless you're maybe someone like me who can map it out ahead of time and give it detail, you all probably don't know what you don't know until you start seeing and playing with it. So when doing this, we're gonna start simple. We're gonna add features. We're gonna refine the UI. And this is very important. So many people get stuck on the look and feel. Again, if this is an application that you and your 5 internal people are using,
Do you care if it wins Prettiest App of the Year award? Right, as long as it operates. We're gonna add logic. And then here's the thing that's very cool with this tool. As you add, let me break this down. You may say, Darrell, what is the difference between a feature and a logic? A feature may be send an email, okay? That's a feature. Logic may be send an email after someone signs up with this information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but only if they live in Brooklyn. That's logic, you follow me? So when you're building, sometimes we're not even starting with the logic yet. I want to show you how you start to add features, you start to get what you want at a high level, and then later on you go and refine the logic. That way you don't get bogged down in this stuff, because this is like the real nerdy stuff. And a lot of y'all could get deterred thinking that, I gotta think of, no, let's get you excited by seeing stuff and clicking stuff. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna build a social media scheduler first. Like I said, depending upon, what tool you may use, I've used Later. I stopped using it because it was giving me about $25 a month worth of features, which wasn't good. Hootsuite is one that's very popular, but as you can see, it's much more expensive. But at the end of the day, what is it doing? What is it doing? What do they do, huh? Scheduling posts, right? Like, if you think about it, like, is it rocket science? Okay, exactly. All right, y'all funny. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna hop over to, y'all see this? Yes, GitHub Spark. $39, GitHub account, you get GitHub Spark. Again, I will provide instructions, I'll provide the deck, step by step for everything that you need to do this on your own. So, let me get my first prompt ready. My prompts will be a little simple, because we're gonna start to build a planet. All right, hang on. Here's my first prompt. All right, here we go. So, let me paste it in here.
Do you use the other tools to help create your prompts for the app?
No. And this is really good. I have a lot of different workflows. In this workflow, no. In this workflow, it's like I was driving down the street, I got an idea for an app, let me get to the crib real quick and start typing. And this is this. When I'm building something like for real, yes, I may start with Claude, like he said, and I will create what's called a product requirements document. And really, like, I may spend days on days, really building out all of that. And then in that manner, I'm basically taking what's basically a blueprint. Think of when people go build houses, they have a blueprint. And I take that requirements document, which is a blueprint, then I can feed it into one of these tools and it just spit it out. But when I don't know everything and I need to just start playing, I just start writing. So the prompt says, let me move this out of the way. Create a social media campaign planner as the first component of a business operations dashboard. Include fields for platform, content, and post date. So I'm going to hit submit prompt, and it is going to start doing what it's doing. Not to confuse y'all, but Spark uses something called GitHub Copilot. We done heard Copilot a bunch of times. I know, y'all probably like, what? That's it, I'm just gonna say that, because you don't really need to know. Copilot is thinking, exactly what you said. That's all you need to know. You're going to be interacting, and essentially what it's doing right now, it is starting at the bare bones. Now, this is probably gonna be the longest prompt because it's taking literally nothing and it's starting to create something. Now, one thing that it is doing a lot of interpretation. Why? Because my prompt was pretty simple. I just said, create a social media platform, blah, 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 blah. Now, it is smart enough to understand what a social media platform should do. It knows what Later in Hootsuite does. So when this finishes its first iteration, there's going to be something substantial there. So this one may take a couple minutes. We'll let it do it. Any questions while it's on this?
How does this compare to Lovable?
No matter I work for Lovable in here, dude. I was at Spelman 2 days ago, and the fellow that I used to work with, she wanted me to come and assist with a workshop on Lovable, and she was doing Lovable, and it was an exercise where she was showing the students how you can create a portfolio website for a fashion designer. And I was so, I've used Lovable before. Whatever you use for image generation isn't good. So it was this, imagine like this portfolio website with this really huge picture of a model, and she was standing like this, and her hands were completely distorted. When it created these pictures of like the designs, they were all over the place. You had, and it was just crazy. You had one guy who you could see from here to here with just a t-shirt on. Another guy, his head was cut off, he had a suit on. And another guy, like and the descriptions were wrong, all of the things. So there could be a time and a place for it. If I wanted to, let me try to think of something maybe really simple, really basic, it could do it really well. When you start to get to things that are more complex, have more business logic and other things, there's a reason, or there's a difference between tools that just came out a few months ago from a brand new startup at a certain price point, and some of these more enterprise tools that you've heard about today.
So GitHub will ship as fast.
Will ship as fast? Oh yeah. I mean, and a lot of stuff is happening. There's a lot of things happening internally, and you know, you can think of GitHub as a separate company, but it's basically Microsoft. So.
And it's the host for most of the open source projects in the world, including Cloud.
Yeah. So
the culture there is we see everything that people are putting out. We're supporting all these projects.
Yeah.
They're an enterprise host, and I hate to say it, but I'm a Google Cloud guy, but they've done a great job.
Yeah.
Becoming the code repo for the world.
Yeah, and not to overload, if you ever heard the term open source, that is all that lives on GitHub. There's a community of developers who create stuff, they open source it so other people can use it. That's been living on GitHub for a while, decades maybe, or at least, 10, 15 plus years.
But does that then mean that whatever it is that it creates here now for you, back to the questions that they had, that becomes
No, not
by
at
definition?
Yes and no. So not at this point. So we're still developing. I want to show you something real quick, which I love about this. It's working, it's creating some files. It says, I need to fix the TypeScript errors. It knows it has errors and it's fixing it itself. So at this point, this is my own sandbox. This is totally mine. You have the capabilities, and I'll show you at the end, when I can publish this app. I could publish this app for anyone to use. That's one thing. But when you talk about the source code, it stays within my own GitHub account and my own repo unless I make it public for the world, for the open source community to jump in. You follow me? And that may be something that you all think about, when you think about getting support and getting help. Like, depending on what you're creating, there may be some proprietary stuff in it. It may not. It can start off non-proprietary before you build it in. There's a lot of developers at home that just be looking for projects to work on for fun. A lot. And especially when we think about our young people, high school, college, they're looking for experience. That's what they want. All right, one question, then I'll go ahead.
How can I use that in the food industry?
In the who industry?
Food.
Food industry? A lot. I mean, same thing. I think as we go through this, and when you say food, are you talking about restaurants or?
No, I'm a chef. I do private dining, and also I do newswork, like
Okay.
Great pictures of your food up in video.
Well, no. How real quick? How are you managing your work and your business? What tools, what softwares are you using?
Well, right now, I have a virtual agent that works with me.
Okay.
So they just book booking, and I'll just go and job. I do work with DOE, so they'll just call me for a workshop. I'll do in the end of the workshop, but I also do private dining as well.
Okay. Not spend too much time. I think if you dig back into your back office operations, not only with your virtual assistant, and say your virtual assistant is doing something, how do you have visibility into what they're doing? Do y'all just get on call? Do they send you email? What if there was a dashboard so whatever the virtual assistant does, you can immediately see so you don't have to ask them? You follow what I'm getting at? You know, if there's certain things that you're doing with DOE and the contracts and you need to communicate, like, really think about everything that you do that it is a manual or as a person and say, okay, how can things talk better or work better? All right, so we got bare bones of a campaign planner. So so what we have here, no, we're good. So of course this is showing us a dashboard if there were, you know, various posts across various social media platforms. And this is Zoom thing I'm on. This is one of them saying interactive. So if I click on Twitter here, it automatically filters to the Twitters, it automatically filters to Instagram. Like this works. You follow what I'm getting at? Immediately built in the ability to add a post. So remember I told you how it's smart enough to know some things? It immediately knows, okay, this is how you can create a post. So we're gonna keep iterating on this.
When you say it works though, you're saying like that it's already connecting, like whatever the Instagram API is?
Not that part. You're too smart. Not that part. When I say work, I say at least clickable from this standpoint. So when you're developing, this is how you typically develop. So yeah, so before you really connect to Instagram's API or anything like that, you use dummy data, and maybe this is a good point. You see right here, this thing says data. This is the dummy data that it will use. So as a part of this, you can be able to go in and manipulate the data that's showing. I don't know why it says 0 at this moment. But at this point, it's just all dummy data, okay? All right, let's approve upon this real quick. It's my next prompt. So with this, you come right over here in this box, and I want to say add a drop down for client selection. So remember, this is a creative agency, so they have various clients, right? So they're managing social posts for the clients. Let's add a drop down. Let's add a status, and then track who created each post. So we'll click this, and it's doing this thing. Question while it's doing this? This one won't take as long.
For bookkeeping, right? I would be able to use the same, just supplement the whole idea of thinking about I have 10 clients, I want a dashboard, determining when their books are due, that kind of thing. I could just supplement the prompts.
Absolutely. Yeah, so her question was, can she just supplement the prompt? Absolutely. Like, I think on this next prompt, I'm gonna get some ideas for you all. But yes, that's what I wanted you to get out of it. I want you to just start to see this and say, how will I do this for me? How does this equate to my business or whatever? That's the exact right thinking that I want.
So it sounds like a lot of these are like more personal projects, or like kind of like a social media planner or some kind of like email campaign planner. How does it support things at like scale? Let's say you have a lot of users, you're building an app for, I don't know, more users. You want to make sure that it can support all the traffic.
So great point. So, and I want to be clear, this still isn't personal. Remember, we're this fictitious creative agency. We're building this for them. And as we go through and I add more components, you'll see, oh, you're building out a whole system for this agency. You're correct. Two things I want to point out to what you're saying. When we think about what these models are doing behind, and let me show you.
Are you gonna add login for
hold on. Look at you teaching the next class.
This class you're a student.
Yeah,
This class you're a student.
I want to
know that. That's why.
No. I want to show you this while it's doing. So this is the code that is building in real time. Now, when we think of what it's using to build this, inherently these models know the latest frameworks to use, and all of those things so that you are not building, you know, what your 8-year-old would build at home. Like I'm telling you, this is, and I can't say for everybody, but knowing GitHub and Microsoft, it's B2B, it is enterprise. These are building enterprise things. Now, the other point that I want to mention along that is at the end of the day, this is, you build it, and then when you're ready to, say, publish it for the world or whatever you do, there's a whole thing that called hosting, and that's when you talk about being prepared for a lot of users and things of that such. Inherently, because of who this company is and being pushed and hosted on something called Azure, I don't want to bore y'all with a bunch of terms, but this is Microsoft's cloud infrastructure that millions of companies have used, our federal government use. This is the same infrastructure. I don't know what Hosting Lovable is using in perspective. If that, you follow I'm getting at? But there are some other things that you would do. He mentioned identity. There are other things that you ultimately would do to, before you get to production, to ensure that it's ready to go. Okay? It had an error, we'll fix it. Close this out. Any other questions? Let's go.
Terrell, can you say something about whether this iterative process, like from the start, from the first prompt to the end of an app, is that an hour? Is that hours? Is that days? Can you help frame? I know it's complex depending on how complex what you're building, but can you give us some sense of a timeline for this back and forth process?
It can be as much as you want. And I say that to say, as you start doing it, just like we said, add a field for this, add a field for that. As you start to see almost in real time what you're doing, your imagination is going to determine how long it is. So, all right, so here we are. We're back. Fix the errors. One thing that I also want to point out to you with Spark, you see these suggestions? It's smart. It said add an export feature, create a calendar view, add support for uploading images. You literally, we'll do it, you can just click one of those suggestions and it will go do it. So back to your point of how long it could take, this thing will continually giving suggestions. I sat there one time for hours. I was like, oh yes, yes, yes. And I kept clicking to add more and more suggestions.
Is it run out of tokens like Claude?
There is, all of these tools have those things. I have not ran into it, at least with this. I don't know the exact specifics and things, but I haven't ran into it.
So Claude runs out fast.
Yeah.
With paid?
I mean, with the regular paid, I had to go up to the $100 version because it just kept saying, okay, now you got to do 10 o'clock tonight, and it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So,
Yeah, some of it just depends on those plans and different things. I think that's also too, just back on that, he's saying running out of credits and things like that. So that's when it's really important to be more, think about your prompts and be more detailed. So instead of giving 10 different prompts, just give it one good one and help save some of those credits. So chaining your things. So, all right. What did we told it to do? Oh, we told it to add support for uploading images and media to posts. This is working. All right. So, as you can see now, when we go to get add post, you see how it's now added this button for upload images or videos. Automatically did all of that for us. So we can continue to, somebody give me a feature, something you would want. If you was using this, it would be cool if it had.
can you take a picture of another app and so it sees what the other app does and then feed it here, screenshot?
Okay, that's not what I was talking about, but yes. So right here, you see this attach image? So you can use this as a reference. So you can attach an image of something and in your prompt say, refer to this image and yeah, design or create something that looks like this. Absolutely, absolutely.
Add a click to buy.
Oh, who said something? Oh,
Add a click to buy.
add a click to buy?
Yeah, like a call to action.
A call to action. On a social media? Hold on, I'm understand. Oh, my bad. You mean when, hold on, you mean when you go to add a post, a specific field for call to action?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I would just basically say when creating a new post, add a field specifically
Money off of this.
for call to action. So I know it's down there, but I just said when creating a new post, add a field specifically for call to action. I'll hit that and then it will start doing what it's doing. I saw a hand while it's doing that. Okay.
Yeah, so like create different genres for it to go to, like to be able to choose, I want to go to this one.
See, look at you. You ready to go home and build that, right? See? But no, that's it. I mean, your imagination will start to take you. And a lot of times when I'm building something like this, sometimes it's like this brand new, fresh idea, but sometimes it's I'm frustrated with the tools that are out there. And you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, let me take what I don't like of this one, what I like of this one, and I'll give y'all a prime example. So y'all know who's done a mail merge, old school mail merge, right? So I needed to send something to 4,000 people. I had a HubSpot account. Y'all know how much that would have cost me to send it to, because they charge you by the whatever. So I said, man, I just want to do old school mail merge. I was using an Outlook account. New Outlook doesn't have the mail merge feature. So I can show y'all when it's over. I literally built me an entire tool that has where I can create my own email templates like MailChimp. I can upload a CSV. Not only will it send the emails, it will send it. I made it smart enough so it'll only send one every 5 seconds, not to overload the servers. And then it will give me a status dashboard showing me all the emails that was sent or rejected. And it cost me nothing.
Or $39.
$39. But that $39 is now spread across every app I build. You know what I mean? Question, then we're going to review. But
So does this kind of make like make.com useless?
absolutely. No make employees here, right? Yeah, so when we think about, so here's your call to action field. You see it? So, yes, so when we think about make.com or Zapier, right? Yeah, yeah, make.com. What they're basically, they created something, and they were smart when they did it. They created something, a SaaS platform that you pay, where basically they said, prime example, HubSpot, what APIs do you have? MailChimp, what APIs do you have? We know majority of people don't know how to use APIs, so we're gonna build this little user-friendly thing that connects the two. So if somebody does something in HubSpot, you add a new person to your CRM, Zapier or Make will automatically add that record for you in Constant Contact. Yes, but here's a limitation. You have to deal with what Make or Zapier created and designed and what they exposed. And it's limited in logic. You follow what I'm saying? So to your point, yes, you can build your own custom thing that now talks to every service in the world.
Oh man, you're running me out of business. That's what I do.
Say it
I
again?
sell automation.
You sell automation?
Yeah, it's a small business. Yeah.
Damn. All right, so I think we got it with the campaign plan. Y'all want to move to the next thing on here?
Can I just ask a question related to
Go ahead.
campaign plan? So can it bring in information? So if you want to make it more like a strategic planner, where it sort of like reads whatever data is out there to help you create more of a strategic plan. So it's not just you coming up with posts, but it can pull the information to tell you.
Oh yeah. So you can tell it, instead of just immediately with a button that says add post, maybe we can have a button that says help me strategize. and you can put some particular input in it, like, you know, the topic you want to talk about or something, and then yes, you feed it anything that you have. You know, you want to upload some of your documents, you want to upload meeting notes or something. Yes, you can build a tool that then basically strategizes for you and then create the post. Absolutely. Sky's the limit, y'all.
And the connections are built in too, so.
No.
Okay.
No, that's some additional work, because when we think of the connections, you know, those are very specific to your environment. It takes keys and things that stuff you will do after the fact. But put it this way, it builds all the infrastructure to it to where all you would have to do, I guess y'all familiar with APIs, an API key, that basically you will go to that other solution, grab your API key and put it somewhere. And then it's done. Then it's connected. Does that make sense?
Basically just log in with it. You can ask for an OAuth login.
When your class, man?
I'm
just messing.
That's why I'm just mentioning that.
I just messing. Yes,
they can
yes.
Google that later and let you move on.
Yeah, yes,
It's
yes.
all right. We are at a Google space, so you can insert your.
All right.
Is the campaign planner
Microsoft
in the
puts
open resource part of GitHub, or is it part of the $249 monthly?
You talking about this campaign planner we building?
Yeah.
This is my proprietary campaign planner I'm building. How much you got? I might can sell it to you. No, seriously. So what we're gonna do is, at the end, I promise y'all before I go to bed at night, Sunday night, I will get the emails. I will send y'all the entire deck. I will send y'all the prompts. And what I'm also gonna do ultimately is send you the source code for this. That's gonna be, I'm gonna leave it public for you all. And what GitHub can allow you to do, I'm gonna find the most entry videos that I can show you. What you can do is take what we just built here, it's called Fork It, and basically take it, bring it into your GitHub, and then you can go and make it whatever it is that you want. So that's what we'll do, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
It's $39 for GitHub Spark, right? But do you get like rate limited if you just all day just fronting?
There is some usage, and I don't know what it is exactly, but I mean, that's everything. You know, there is. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't want to get the line, but I can find out and I'll send it part of the info. Okay.
It sounds like too good to be true. It's like just $39. You can just unlimited like prompts.
I mean, for the most part. I mean, I don't know. I will find out the exact billing and usage for you. There is a limit. Do I believe this room is going to run into this limit? Probably not, you know? Now, someone who, you know, does building apps for people on a daily basis as their job, yeah, they may run into a limit. But I don't think the average person, man.
I know Lovable has a 5.
Yeah, Lovable's horrible.
5 prompt and
Yeah, you do 2 things and you're done. Yeah, Lovable's horrible. Go ahead.
I actually like Lovable.
My bad. Lovable's great.
So this actually kind of leads to the question I think is important for everybody to consider. How do you particularly consider, so in the world of AI, right, the interchange is super fast. And products like Lovable is like the most funded sort of AI live coding tool right now.
You didn't say base 44 with Wix?
Your class is 11 never, okay?
That's a question though. You know, so no, because
Yeah.
So you consider where the funding is going and it's speeding with some. So for example, what you said about Lovable, it has those features, right? It has so when you do a prompt.
Right.
So my question is, how often do you actually go back to tools that you may have thought were not usable to you and say, hey, nah, this is actually usable, because they're all competing against the same space.
I mean, I guess the question is continually to evolve. But I will say, if a tool matches your needs, stick with it. You don't have to get in the rat race of this new one, whatever. As just a technologist who does this, like I am much more in tune and I see certain deficiencies here and I see where another one is excelling. And it's ebb and flows. When ChatGPT came out, OpenAI was the top of the world. I don't know what they're doing right now. You know what I mean? But who knows? They may come out with a new model next week and they back on top. You know what I mean? So you can play that race and stick with it, you know, and go from one, or just be like, hey, this one works for me. I'm happy with it. Hey, that's it. All right. All right, let's build the next part because we're building this whole dashboard for Wavelength. So put it in the prompt. Add an email campaign manager component to this operation dashboard. Include a campaign composer with fields for subject line, preview text, and email body. Add a template library where I can save and reuse email templates. So this is going to get to working. Any questions why that's happening? What ideas someone got now that they see with this? Who has a business and say, you know what? I think I can go do X, Y, Z.
Oh, you want me to share?
Yeah. Raise your hand.
So I've had some ideas about for like a t-shirt line, just like really simple designs, but things that are creative. Feeding that into this to come up with a website, a social media campaign, a way to track sales, a way to generate innovative photos outside of like having a photo shoot. I might still try to do a photo shoot, but I could probably just take like 5 photos, feed it into this, and say based on these 5 photos, generate me a carousel of like 50 photos that I could project out over the next 6 months or whatever on these social platforms, and kind of like have a dashboard to kind of track, how a post going, am I getting engagement, come up with different iterations of the t-shirt design, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Right there. Actually, the last thing, I hope we can get to it, actually, get someone pick on that.
All right, that's cool.
One more question, because it'll be done in a minute. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't a question. I was just giving another idea of a thought of what I was thinking. I mean, along the lines of what he's saying, right? So what I've been thinking a lot about is using these tools more effectively. So, because chat was here first, now I'm stuck with like everything in chat, and I do want to integrate, other tools. So the biggest challenge I have with chat is I'm building a financial wellness platform for children, and so I have like my brand world that I have that's leading how I create content, right? And so instead of just using it as like creating this one little post, I wanted to run against my growth strategy. I wanted to run against my brand world so that everything is intact. And right now what drives me crazy is that I have been in Notion building all these templates about each little aspect, and then taking all of those components, throwing it back in, and then saying use this to create the post so that it's all in alignment and connected. And then have those analytics. So then when I'm making decisions, they are based on metrics versus like feelings. You know. So that's how I think about how I want to use and integrate things, and I'm not there yet, but I'm doing like a really manual heavy lift by throwing all these things back and forth into ChatGPT.
So I have a challenge because it's I'm planning an art business, and then unlike a lot of businesses, and I might be wrong about this, I'm just learning. I'm thinking if I'm going to place all my art online, then it's all gone, right? I mean, anyone can replicate it.
That's the nature of what online. But I mean, that's when did the internet get invented? Like that's been that for a while. And I'm not an art person specifically, but that's just when, how do you have the proof that that's your art? You know what I mean? So that if someone ever does anything, you can prove, okay, this was mine. Here is the original piece, date, time stamp, or whatever, and you just gotta combat it. No different than, what the big music companies do right now. If people put up stuff that they're not supposed to, they cease and desist and they get it taken down. Like, it is what it is. It's one of those things, I think, just kind of what Jacoby was heading to. It's tough to play in this I want to use the internet world but then
I don't want to.
yeah, I don't want the internet to do nothing that I got going on. Like, oh, but you want to use what everybody else has, so yeah. So.
That is the tension.
Yep, that is
But
attention.
there are technologies like with blockchain and NFTs and all of that, like those are gonna be the new systems and tools that we're using to protect ourselves in this whole new digital ecosystem.
And to be able to show that identity of who owns. So, all right, so if you look, we went from there was just a social media planner, we now have an operations dashboard. You have the social media tab, but now when we click on email campaigns, now we have this particular new screen to be able to help manage our email campaigns. So as of right now, you can click here. Here's a base template, name, subject, preview text, email body, and then you can actually create a campaign. Remember, we're wavelength. We have clients. You can select your clients. See how I actually put dummy clients in there, statuses, send dates, all the things. I want to breeze through this real quick because I want to at least show you one update. I'm going to put in this prompt as the lights go down to say upgrade the email body to a rich text editor with formatting options like bold, italic, headings, text color, and the ability to insert images and links. Make it feel like a professional email builder similar to MailChimp's Composer. So right now when you create it, it's just this little box that says body, right? Just basic text. I'll show you what it does when it finishes this one. Shouldn't take too long. Can I sneak in the questions? There we go.
If I wanted to do something where, like, for a company, like, to build houses, if I wanted to, like, could I build something where I could put in the design of the house and I could have it look online and figure out all of the source materials for multiple different, like, can it go onto networks and, like, build information?
Put it this way. I don't know yet if I told somebody something can't be done. How you do it is more of the question. So, to your point, can you have a tool that, you know, you start with designs, you upload a design, and you're asking it to look at this design. I think I heard you say source materials and things of that sort. Absolutely. A lot of these, some of these models can, like we said, look at things. It can, you know, not only pick out materials, it can tell what it is, it can match it possibly back to a manufacturer or whatever. If it's publicly available on the internet, it can match it back to it and come back and tell you, yes, per this design, this thing's at Amazon, this is here, here's the price, or I found it in a multiple places, etc. It's just connecting the dots. So, yep.
I have a question in the chat.
Okay.
Cherie Gibson asked, could we build an app that would take data, like basic contact info from an Excel sheet, and build a searchable, user-friendly database to view the info and add or build on it as you learn more about each contact, like a dashboard to create filters and target lists, etc.
That's exactly a great use case. And back to that little diagram I was showing where you start, you hear, you iterate, whatever. That's a great use case of just saying, hey, I'm tired of dealing with this Excel spreadsheet. Hey, you GitHub Spark thingamabob, create me something to where I can upload a spreadsheet and it shows it to me in a more friendly manner. And then just as she mentioned, you just start iterating and tell it to do more, and do more. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And that can be, that's not something that's public, so you could upload an Excel, but it wouldn't be public, it would be within your.
Yes, nothing that you are doing, whether it's here or just like some of the other tools, it's only public if you make it public. Inherently, that's a sticky question. Okay.
But is it data that you put in it public? It's more so what you're building is public, so now someone can take that same data infrastructure. So like her Excel upload, you would now be able to see all her contacts.
Right, and I guess we're talking about once I built this and it's now my proprietary tool that's only accessible by my employees, no one can see that data. Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so if I go back to this real quick and look at it, if I now go to email campaigns and I do new template, look at that. Now we got what a lot of y'all are used to with composers. You can bold, you can do links, you can do all the things. I want to show two more things. I'll show you this real quick. With this as well, this allows you to quickly play with colors. So you come here to theme, and you just click this, and then you get a different color layout. So this has some UI in it, but again, when I'm building stuff internally, as long as it works, it ain't got to be the prettiest thing whatsoever. As I was mentioning earlier, you click here to data. This is the dummy data that it's using. So as you're building and you want to use better dummy data, you just come in here, you can edit the dummy data. Okay? All right. We're going to move to, there's 4 components. We're going to build 2 more real quick. This one is one, I wanted to bring this up because those that have businesses, how big is the culture at your business? It's something you think about. Oh, y'all just like employees coming and going? You don't care if you like their job? Oh, okay. How big is culture? If you own a business, how big is culture at your business? Okay, what are you doing to help them stay and grow? How are you making them feel at home and just feel like this is a place they want to be?
Helping them have a voice.
Huh?
Helping them, like giving them a voice and so that they actually participate in decisions.
Okay. And small things like, how's your wife today? Knowing their names and stuff, right? But a lot of times we can't remember all of that. And these are the things that sometimes make people feel really special. And there's various applications, 15.5, and there's another one, SaaS application that costs you $40, $50, $100 a month that do that. We're gonna build one for you. So I put in a prompt that says, add a staff culture builder component to this operation dashboard. Create employee profile cards with fields for name, role, photo placeholder, and a personal notes section for things like family details, hobbies, and interests. Wouldn't that be useful? That now you can start to be able to, I hate to use the word track, but track some of these things so that you are now knowing better how to work with your employees. One of the things that whoever asks this question when being interviewed, what's your communication style? You know what I mean? Things like that about people that, one, a lot of times when they first join or interview, they reveal certain things about them. And y'all have been on the other side, but then later on your boss forgets. You know what I mean? And he wants you to stay till 7 p.m. and it's like, don't this man know I got 3 kids, soccer practice, this is it. Why is he asking? He probably totally forgot or you know, is not resonating with him or her. This is something that you can easily build into your operations dashboard to be able to help you. Any questions while this is going? I'll show you this real quick and got one more component because I know we have time.
It's an excellent.
I have a question. How many personal apps have you built for your use that you're using literally right now that you built on here? Tell us what they are, what they do for you.
One is, I told you the whole my own email thing. Oh, another one. I wanted to survey 4,000 nonprofits. Again, I was not going to pay, what's the Survey Monkey, or what's the other one? Typeform, because one, it costs, but again, as an app developer, I see things and I want different features. So I built I can actually show you about time. I built my own tool to where I can go in, and this one actually had twofold. I wanted to survey nonprofits, and I also wanted to survey corporations because I'm working on something, and I wanted to know from both sides before I go build what I go build. This is crazy. I'm building the app, but I built the app to survey to get results before I build the app that I'm going to build. So I essentially built something that gives me the flexibility that for the nonprofit side, I can not only I can manage the type of questions, not only what the questions are, but the type. Is it true, false? Is it drop down? All of those things. I did the same thing on the corporate side and essentially built an entire platform to where I can send people a link. They will see this, survey, they will fill it out, and then on the back end, it gives me all of my results that I can see in one place. Built the app to help me build another app. Yep.
sorry.
You're fine.
Like if you have a company, like if somebody has a GitHub but they want to allow other people from the company in it, can multiple people be building
Absolutely.
apps within the company?
Oh, bonus points for you. I was supposed to bring prizes, but I forgot, so I'm gonna throw you an imaginary prize. Yeah, so GitHub is all about not only one called version control. So one, after we were to build this and publish this to GitHub, and I go do some stuff and I mess up, I can revert back. So that's version control. But it's also a platform for collaboration. So yes, I can bring multiple people into my organization, and one could be building one part, another person can build another part, and then you bring it together. Absolutely. That's what it's built for. That's why 180 million developers around the globe use it. So, all right, real quick. So here's the staff culture thing that I mentioned. As you can see, it has some fictitious team members in there. It has all the information about family, hobbies. I can come in here and click on it and edit this stuff around Dave Rodriguez if I want. I can come in here and add a new team member very easily. You can delete, you can do all of the things. Really quick, one thing that GitHub does, the Spark does, this little button here is mobile view. So it shows you what mobile is, and it's very good. It always messes this up. You see how these tabs are? I literally can say on mobile, the tabs are jumbled. And it'll know and then say, oh yeah, I need to do this, and give it a second, it'll come back and the tabs will be right. All right, any questions? I'm gonna show you all one last part.
Very specific to with that staff builder, did it create a form for the staff to fill out?
No, I didn't.
Or me as the person will then have to enter the details?
As the way this is, me as the person has to, but that's a great use case. We can literally say, build intake form for staff to use that then feeds into this. Very simple. So as you can see, it fixed those things. Very quick. All right, last part. So, what's your name? Orange sweatshirt.
Khalid.
Khalid was talking about.
Khalid.
Oh, Khalid.
Yeah, like the singer.
I got you. Apology. Khalid was talking about basically campaigns and tracking and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna add one more thing to this operational dashboard. So I'm gonna add a campaign ROI dashboard component to this operation system. Create a campaign tracker with fields for campaign name, client, platform, drop downs like Meta, Google, LinkedIn, email, budget, start date, and end date. And we'll see what this looks like. Any questions?
Yeah, at any point in any of the projects that you've worked on, have you come into like a roadblock or something where you're like, I want to do this, but I can't do it here? Like,
excellent point.
Yeah.
Right now, in Darrell's personal prediction, this will always be the case. I don't believe none of these AI tools will ultimately replace what a developer can do. And I say that to say there are many times that, not many times, there are few times that I can be messing with this thing for a few minutes and I'd be like, why am I doing this? Darrell, you know how to code. You knew how to code before, and I can just go in and do it. So that's one thing, but I also will say when you think about holistically, especially when you're building something, again, I think I build for the future, not the now. So when you think of something that's enterprise and how do you not have to go back and fix it later, there's some decisions that need to be made at this point while you're planning, but later to give you something that's extremely, extremely solid. And as someone as me, there's certain things I know what to tell it. You follow me? Because there's certain things I don't want it to assume. I want to tell it certain. I want to tell it to use a certain thing for identity. I want to tell it, hey, I'm going to be hosting it here. Don't use a PostgreSQL. I want to use a SQL database. Like, it's certain things, and some of that is just my preference, because I know at the end of the day, if this tool went away, I got to get back in my bag and actually code and do it myself. So I will tell it certain things that I'm familiar with. So I say all that to say, I don't believe we're at the point to where this is 100% replacing the developer, but even if we think about what's happening here, and by show of hands, from what you've seen, can you go home and type some prompts and start building something for your business? Yes. And even if you think of the time you spent, and then if even at that point you had to then go hire a developer to finish it off, you're probably talking about pennies at that point of what you got to spend them, because this is the hard work. This thing does all of the hard work. Like when you think of where your costs come in not only from building, but a lot of time people who want apps built don't do a great job of articulating what they want. They don't come with the requirements document. They don't come with the blueprint. So you have this high level idea, you pay someone, they start building it, and it doesn't look like what you want, or it's going a different way, or they say it's more money to add. Why? Because you did a horrible job of telling them what you want. You can spend the time and do this, and there's no guess. They know exactly what you want. So even if you have to pay them to connect the dots with the API, it's pennies at that point. All right, so real quick, this is the ROI dashboard. So it's showing us total budget, total revenue. There's no campaigns yet. You can add a campaign here, and essentially what this will do is it's a calculator that can help you return your ROI. We don't have time because there's more prompts, but if I were to do the rest of the prompts, you'd have a full-blown ROI dashboard that you can use to measure all your campaigns.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
You had the drop downs for the different social media platforms. So this would essentially, I could pick a social media platform and it would just push a campaign out on that platform. Could I build it to do something like that?
Absolutely. And it's smart enough to know, so if you say, hey, I want to push a campaign to, Google Ads or Facebook or whatever, it knows enough about the protocol on that end that it will build the necessary things on this end, and it literally will say, just go to Google, get your API key, and plug it in here. Any other questions?
And that's what I was saying before. You can do Microsoft as a major support of the whole.
Yeah.
That's why you can log in with your Microsoft email.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Nothing?
How many of you are surprised that this was easier than you thought it was going to be? That you're like, oh, I can do this. Awesome.
Yeah, so I will, let me do my little thing here.
Maybe one quick question.
Go ahead.
You put this specifically for social media companies, correct? But you could put it for anything, and you could build out as wide as you want for any type of company. And like, you can have a marketing aspect to the app, or would you have to have different apps for each of
No, this is why I wanted to show this. We were building one app for this marketing company, this fictitious marketing company. So what I suggest as a business owner, that's why I'm trying to get you away from all these paid subscriptions, all these different things, to how you can create one foundational thing that does as much as you want, where everything talks, it's all in your control, etc. So yes, you can build on that and continue building until you have this really robust internal system. I mean, if you think about, y'all, I want you to also think about any major company, that's what they do. Mm-hmm. That's why they have IT teams. They build proprietary software. Mm-hmm. We as consumers is the only one that's paying for these subscriptions. You follow me? Yeah. So but the difference is now, you all as small businesses and small entrepreneurs, you can do the same thing that the big boys are doing without a whole floor of 200 people. So real quick, so like I said, I'll wrap this up. I will send y'all everything. I'll have a product requirements document. I'll explain what that is. You can see that. I will include all the sample prompts that I use. I'll give you instructions, like I said, whoever made the ask, how do we take this and make it our own? I'll show you how you can fork it, how you can continue to build upon it, and that's it. Here's my info. All the social media, 777. Build for the future, not the now, y'all. All right, just remember that. Thank y'all.
Can we give it up for Terrell, please? Great job. That was excellent. Really encouraging and insightful. Guys, feel free to take a break. Take a walking break, take a bathroom break, grab something to eat or drink, a snack. We're gonna obviously transition to our final workshop today. Thank you again so much for being here. Talk to each other, say hi, don't be strangers, exchange information.
Oh, T-Tex, well, okay.
Sorry, it's just your learning.
Just a lot.
It's a lot. At work, I have co-pilot. I like this.
Right now, charge that.
So what time it will go to 6 p.m.? It's like a running a little how about you? Are you trying to start your own business? Is why you come?